joining us for today's Partner in Parenting podcast. My name is Mary Gugesberg. I'm the Youth and Family Education Coordinator with Youth Service Bureau. I have a guest with me today. Her name is Chaunte Teehan. The mission of Youth Service Bureau is helping youth and families learn the skills they need to be more successful at home, in school, and throughout the community. One way that we are helping and caring for families at this time is through this Partner in Parenting podcast. I invite you to subscribe to our YouTube channel so you will not miss future presentations. Follow us on Facebook. YSB Knows Kids is our page. Or please check out ysb.net for a lot of great resources, also targeted to what you might be seeking. Chaunte, thank you for joining me. I invite you to introduce yourself and tell me a little bit of why this topic is important to you.
Sure. So my name is Chaunte Teehan. I'm a licensed professional clinical counselor, and I office out of the Cottage Grove location at Youth Service Bureau, and I am taking new clients. So if you want to contact me, you can find my information on the website. So thank you so much, Mary, for having me. I am excited to talk about this topic because I'm a parent myself, and I love working with families, and I think really thinking about how we can parent our children in a positive way through respect and communication and care is really important and impacts our children and youth in many ways more than just learning how to behave.
Perfect. Oh, thank you for setting that stage. So very helpful. So let's jump right in. What are some ways that we can really be positive parents? And I have to say right now, it's a little bumpy to be a positive parent because we're so out of the routine our kids were used to.
Yes, absolutely. When you're mentioning that, I'm really thinking about how difficult it can, like you said, it can be to be a positive parent. I think sometimes when we hear that phrase, we think, well, that means that we don't discipline our kids or that we're just really nice and let things go. That's not the case. There's plenty of discipline that happens. It's done, though, through a more effective way than maybe the traditional, more authoritarian parenting, which I'll talk about later. And it's really hard because with positive parenting, there's an aspect of remaining calm and really thinking before we speak. And that is really challenging to do, especially in times like this or when we ourselves are very stressed. So it is important that we take care of ourselves. So self-care at this point, always as a parent, really needs to be on the forefront. And I think we tend to have guilt as a parent maybe to think about, I need to take care of myself when really my kids are supposed to be number one. And I'm sure we've all heard the phrase about, when you're in an airplane, put the oxygen mask on yourself first and then the kids. And I think when we all hear that, we're like, what are you talking about? No way. But really for us to be functional, for our batteries to be charged, that's the best way we're going to be able to help our kids through whatever it is they're going through. If we aren't stable in ourselves, we are much more likely to be grouchy or impatient, which is only going to make them feel like what they're going through isn't okay or isn't important or that we can't handle it. When in reality we can, we just might not be having the strength in ourselves at that moment because we're not taking care of ourselves. So on the forefront, let's focus on ourselves a little bit, find compassion for ourselves and some self-care time in our routines to make sure that we're doing okay so we can be okay for our kids.
I've also heard people say, practice grace.
Yes.
Be grateful to yourself. Yeah. So let's talk a little bit about some tools that will help us to be positive parents.
Sure. So, other than taking care of yourself, we want to focus on our communication with our children. But really communication is important in any kind of relationship. And it's crucial as a parent-child relationship goes as well. So there's really, I would say maybe 3 components we really want to focus on when it comes to communication. We have actual verbal communication, right? So when we are talking to each other, we want to be very clear. We want to be clear about our intentions. We want to be clear in what we're asking and our expectations. Even something like if we're giving verbal praise or validation, we want to be clear about what it is that we're saying that we like, and mindful about how we're saying that. So when we're talking about verbal communication, that can be things like our tone, that can be as the volume of our voice. So there's a lot that kind of goes into the verbal parts of communication. Then there's the listening component, right? So we want to listen, we want to hear. We want to hear for the emotion or the feeling that your child is experiencing. And hearing isn't always about what you're actually physically hearing. It could be what you're witnessing or observing. So if your kid is coming home and they don't say that they're having a bad day, but you notice it through observation of them throwing their backpack or being really short, you're hearing for how they're feeling, even though you're doing it with your eyes, so to speak. So we want to be observant. We want to be listening for what's going on. Listening, hearing, not to fix, not to solve their problem, but to be there for them as a safe haven and a secure person for them to come to when they need support. And then our nonverbals in communication. So that is absolutely crucial as well, because a lot of our communication is actually read through our nonverbals. So if we're like, hey, did you have a good day today? And they say, oh yeah, it was perfect. There's a lot more we're getting from that response than what we're just hearing. So we want to be paid. We want to be noticing our nonverbals. We want to be noticing theirs. But our nonverbals, right, would be if we are really ticked off and annoyed. We want to be mindful that we're not rolling our eyes or taking deep breaths. Because if we're actually really trying to be validating to our youth, our child, our students, or whoever we're caregiving for, that's going to undo all of the other work you're trying to do if you're sighing or rolling your eyes. So be mindful about what our verbal or nonverbal communication is saying too.
Yeah. And I liken it to also, I use the phrase sometimes, love the one you're with. So when you're trying to have that conversation, where's your device? Is your device here? And hey, how was your day today? And you're not giving the ode eye contact and truly those nonverbals. Oh, if you have a screen between you, it's going to block that so much more. So thank you for calling that out. Appreciate it.
And even trying to set the environment for you to have these dialogues or these moments of connection through communication. So if in that moment, let's say you're cooking dinner and it's just it's something you can't stop doing, or you're about to do a meeting for work, and so you can't have that long connection in the moment like you want, then inviting them to a time that does work. That's also speaking volumes and saying, I'm available to you, and I want to be available to you. It's just right now can't work. However, that doesn't mean I don't love you, and it doesn't mean that what you have to tell me doesn't matter.
Sure. That almost sounds like we're talking finding quality time.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. Yes. So that is another part of this positive parenting, is we really want to create really good, healthy relationships with our children. And one way to do that is through our quality time. So quality time is really about quality, not quantity. It's not about how much time we're spending together, but what we're doing in that time, how we're making each other feel, and how we're connecting. So for example, if we're in passing and our student, or sorry, our child or whoever is mentioning something about their day, and we're on our device, or we're just like, oh yeah, cool, but not really engaged, then that is really a missed opportunity for connection. However, if in those moments we're like, oh, can you tell me more? Oh, that's interesting. Or, any way to really be engaged and show those both or all of those three communication skills I was talking about, the nonverbals, our listening, and our clear communication with verbal communication, then that's going to be a really, important moment. Research actually shows that it's the quality of time we have together, just minutes, 2 minutes here and there of that really strong connection, actually does more for relationships in a positive way than spending 5 hours together on a Saturday or Sunday. So these moments for us to really connect mean a ton. So wanting to find time to do that.
Thank you. Thank you. I think if I can just add, our family is trying to find quality time we're doing a lot of puzzles. We're
Mhm.
all inside right now, and the conversation that we're having because of doing puzzles it's just fun. And a puzzle isn't done like that, of course. So it's just, I enjoy the quality time, and that we can walk away and we can come back.
Absolutely. One thing I hear from parents a lot is if I ask, well, what are you hoping to see change? Well, I just want them to do what I ask them to do, right? Um, and, that's not so much of a relationship. Um, when we think about cooperation, right, we think, oh, just do what I say. But it's really about how do we work together to meet our common goal. And really a way to get anyone to cooperate is if we have a relationship built. Because if we have a solid, healthy relationship, that actually breeds respect. And when we respect someone, we're more likely to cooperate out of nature of just, hey, you matter to me, and so I want to do good by you, or for you, or with you. And so sometimes, when I'm working with families and repairing any relationship dynamics, the first step is really how do we strengthen that relationship. Our podcast that we're going to record next is going to talk more about how to have stronger relationships, which some of these things go into that too. But so listen out for that.
Perfect.
Um,
Perfect. I can see some of this also may fit with role modeling, kind of fit really well with your communication. I think we've talked about this before. They're excellent life skills. If I am being at, again, loving the one I'm with, those are skills that I trust my own child is going to carry on with their circles.
yes, absolutely.
Super helpful. Thank you.
Mhm.
Yeah. Did you
Yeah. Oh, go ahead.
dive into the types of parenting? I think we were going to talk about 4 different types of parenting.
Yes, I'm gonna sneak a fifth one in there actually too.
Oh,
So the main four is authoritarian parenting, democratic parenting or authoritative, um, permissive parenting, and like neglectful, uninvolved parenting. And the fifth one is kind of like this. It's it's a lawnmower helicopter parent. So I'll talk a little bit about those. But any questions for you, Mary, before I go on into?
let's check them out. This sounds great. Thank you.
So when we're talking about positive parenting, what you think about, one thing I ask families and parents in particular is, what are your hopes of your outcomes as a parent? And normally the answer is, well, I want my child to grow up to be a successful adult with healthy relationships and a job that they enjoy and the ability to take care of themselves and a family they might create. So we really are thinking about children as successful adults. Um, and so how we are parenting our children impacts those ways that they're going to interact and be as an adult. So let's go back to the parenting styles. Authoritarian parent is going to be one that is like, do as I say, not as I do. There might be a lot of like punishment and shaming, screaming, cursing, um, high expectations, right? And punishment that doesn't fit the crime. So that might fall under that more authoritarian parenting. I know better than you. Um, kind of thing. And then democratic parenting is going to be more of, I think, of democracy, where everyone kind of has the ability to vote or have a voice. That doesn't mean that you don't say no, and it doesn't mean that kids don't get to ask for what they want. So it's this part of where a family unit, parents are there to guide and to make sure that children are safe and are learning the skills to be able to make healthy choices. So it's about doing it together than being the dominant one to say, I know better. So for example, authoritarian, because I said so. And then the democratic or authoritative is, let's talk about it together. Like, let's talk it through. Permissive parenting is going to be like you're in charge, the child's in charge. So this is where a parent is involved, but maybe has their own mental health concerns or own medical issues, and being consistent and disciplinarian is really challenging. And so it's more kind of like you can decide your own curfew, you can come and go, you can eat wherever you want to eat, whenever you want to eat, whatever you want to eat. So it's really up to the child's choice.
Almost like they want to be more of a friend than a parent. That's what I hear.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
Thanks.
And then uninvolved or neglectful parenting, that's like you just do it on your, I don't care. You just figure it out, right? You're on your own.
Sure.
And last, the helicopter lawnmower. I'm mixing these two up together, but the lawnmower is kind of like the parent is rolling over all of the challenges for the child. So not allowing them to be uncomfortable or to try new things that they might not do well in, so it's really about protecting them. However, it's protecting them in a, like, we think as a parent maybe we're protecting them, but it's really not allowing them to build resiliency by solving their own problems. So it's more like, I'll do it for you. And then the helicopter parent is like hovering, like you're kind of right there all the time, knowing everything. And again, I think sometimes that parent role instead of parent-child can sometimes be that friend role.
Mm-hmm.
You're like overbearing, but then also right with it. So, and then again, that's also not allowing the child to grow and become more independent and making their own decisions and learning from their mistakes and trying new things. Which again, those are the skills that they're going to need to be a successful adult.
Yeah, thank you for naming all of those. I can see different times in my own parenting where I've put myself in each of those 5. So thank you for calling it out. I'm assuming we all can. Do you have some guidance though for us to maybe take that healthy communication that you talked about at the beginning, and how can I use that to be that positive parent? Even thank you for calling out those roles, but now I really want to be my child's parent.
Sure. So let's say you are starting out as more of an authoritarian parent, where maybe naturally you're more of a go-to like judge, or be frustrated or upset, or it doesn't matter what you have to say, you just need to do what I'm telling you to do. Really just start to practice the listening to listen and hear, to learn more about who your child is. I'm wondering if then in some of those situations, what children are actually learning with the authoritarian parent is not to do the stuff that their parents don't want them to do in front of their parents. They're not really learning the life lesson of, like, for example, you don't want them to curse. They might learn, don't curse in front of mom and dad, but I can go ahead and do it with my friend group. Where actually we find that with that democratic parenting, where they're learning their lessons and having that open dialogue with their parents, they're learning the reason why maybe it's not appropriate to curse, or maybe it's a value system and they just want to use different kinds of communication other than cursing to express their feelings, right? So they're learning a value of the thing than just being afraid. So a lot of that authoritarian parenting, there's a lot of fear there, which can impact that parent-child relationship of that open dialogue that we want. So if you're saying, let's do it together, then we need to think about too, like, how can we just start by hearing our kids so they can see us in a different kind of way.
Really helpful. Thank you. Great examples. How about I want to affirm my child and maybe myself when I've caught them doing right. Do you have some suggestions of affirmations too?
Absolutely. So with affirmations, we really want to identify and have a sense of encouragement, like what we're seeing, we want more of that. So to give that a clear picture, I'm going to give you an example of the difference between praise and encouragement. If you are thinking about your child running a marathon, that's really hard, and you're a parent on the sidelines, and you might be saying, yes, 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 keep going, you got this, don't give up, you are on your way, like, just really in it with them. That's going to be encouragement. That's going to be that validation. This might be really hard, and you're going to do it. You're going to do great. That's going to be the actual encouragement. We are with you. We want to see more of it. And then praise is the kind of after you finish the race, and that's like, you did a good job. So if you think about times where you've either had encouragement or praise, encouragement like fuels the soul, right? Like, that feels good. We want more of that. We feel connected. We feel seen. We feel heard. So any opportunities, even like, let's say they're taking out the trash, I like to call it catch them being good. We want to be able to say, thank you so much for taking out the trash. It really has helped me because, now I don't have to worry about that when I have these other things I need to do. So you're very specific, right, about what you're enjoying about whatever they're doing. But it could even be a matter of you caught them being kind to their sibling. And maybe you don't have the opportunity to say it in the moment because you're multitasking. Even stopping by their bedroom later and say, hey, you know what? Earlier when you were talking to Susie and gave Susie some nice advice, like, I just wanted to say that was a great example of you being a great big sister or brother. So we want to make those connections. It doesn't always have to be in the moment. If we can do it in the moment, that's great. But it also lets our kids know that we're thinking about them. If we're telling them about it later, even when we're away from them. Mm-hmm. And we're thinking about them in a positive way, a way that we are proud of them, or see their potential, or enjoy who they are as a person, instead of they're just a kid. Because so often I think youth feel like adults don't see them. They don't see them as people. And that all adults know better than them, which oftentimes we can see further into the future in terms of consequences and things. That's just how our brains, the older we are, our brains function better that way. But as a teenager, it doesn't feel validating, I should say. So to be able to, again, listen to hear what they're wanting to share with you.
I've even found that one moment of we're passing in the hallway or whatever, and it's just that side hug, say, thanks, and fill in the blank of, and I am a hugger, so having that affection, that part is important to me. And again, I have teenage adult children, and that might not be as important to them, but they deal with it because they know it's important for mom. So.
Well, two things on that, actually. Yeah. So one, that nonverbal is huge. If we see them even doing something we like, oh, let's do a high five. It's just a moment to just connect. And, at first, if you're not normally a high five person, it might feel awkward for you and them, but then they will chuckle about it, and then you keep doing it, and then like, oh, this is fun. The other thing that you're mentioning about hugs, but, our youth want connection. They want us to show them love through affection. Through physical affection, even though they give us messages all the time, like, I don't want to be seen with you in public, I don't want to sit by you. They still crave like this affection from their mom and their dad, or their grandma, grandpa, aunt, uncle, whoever. And so how do we connect with them, even asking them like, hey, I really want to give you a hug. Is that okay? Or would you prefer a high five instead, and even though it might feel weird to say that, it's also letting them know that you're respecting them and their comfort and in their bodies. So it's a great way, again, to role model how we might show physical affection to other people in our lives.
Thank you. I also, I think it fits with routines. We have still a nighttime routine, and they're adults, and it's just who we are. So I appreciate you saying, I'm giving permission. It's okay to meet them where they're at. And if this is how they would like to be affirmed, I'm happy to do that.
Mm-hmm. Oh, and like even written affirmations. Gosh, wouldn't it be so cool? Even for us, right? Like if we woke up and we go downstairs to the fridge and it was like, hey, Mary, you're going to do great today on your exam. Or, you're working so hard and I notice it. Great work. Just to get, so even if we're leaving little notes around the house or something like that, like, I think we do a lot of that sometimes when the kids are younger, right? Maybe put notes in their lunch boxes, um, and lose that a little bit as they get older. However, I think we all love that ability to hear like we're being thought about in a good way.
Sure, but I think our social, we could even do that in a text or snap, whatever platform. It shows that I heard you yesterday or today or 2 weeks ago, whenever it was, and you said you had this fill in the blank activity coming up. I think even just texting them a note, and anyone can do that. It's can be a grandparent who doesn't live in the same house. It can be anyone giving them that extra affirmation, because I appreciate what you said, Chaunte. Yeah, we all crave that additional. Shows you care. So it shows you listen. You heard me. So I want to wrap up. I think we've come to our conclusions. Am I missing anything?
I think too, one thing that I just thought of is that when even with positive parenting, we really want to send the message that even if you do something that we don't like, even if we as parents or caregivers, even if you do something that we disapprove of or make us uncomfortable, that doesn't mean we don't love you. Whatever you did doesn't make you a bad person. Maybe what you did was not good, but you are still loved and cared about and unique and somebody we want to support. So we want to make sure that's where that clear messaging comes in, instead of that maybe the discipline part where or the punishment where it might make the child feel like they are bad. So again, the action, the choice might have not been good, but they themselves are good.
Right. I think that you just gave the perfect definition of discipline. It is teaching versus a punishment. So, and so many times our kids think, I'm being disciplined, and they hear that punishment more than a teaching opportunity. So thanks for calling that out. I love what we talked about. I love the communication, all the different types of communication, bringing awareness to parents on their parenting styles, and the opportunity to have those communication, to have the healthy look at how to be a positive parent. Thank you for joining me. Any last nuggets you want to add?
No, I think there's going to be probably a lot more opportunities for similar topics on this to go in more detail. So stay tuned, or obviously feel free to reach out to me or any of our staff if you want more information on anything in particular. So thanks for listening.
Thank you so much. And again, I encourage any questions, you'll find us on ysb.net. Follow us on our social. YSB Knows Kids is our Facebook page, or subscribe to our YouTube channel. Thank you, Chaunte. Thank you. Take good care. Stay well.
Bye.